From being saved by pure luck to being cast in a legendary franchise, this is how Antonio Banderas reveals his heart attack saved his life. Starting us off, a random cashier and his girlfriend literally saved his life. It was a chance occurrence, but the night before Antonio had his date with Destiny, it happens his girlfriend had a pretty bad headache. So Nicole Kimple did what anyone else would do. She went to get some aspirin. Only she almost didn't get it. When she went to check out, she had several items like water, but it seems she misplaced the bottle. Antonio explains the cashier saw her drop it and promptly pointed it out. If not for that cashier and Nicole's headache, Banderas may not be alive today.
It was very lucky, actually, because I had my girlfriend with me at the time, and she put an aspirin on my mouth. Immediately, I started feeling the symptoms. There was a number of things that happened that morning. Many people may think that is strange, but it's true. This heart attack came to my life as a blessing.
Antonio said he knew the symptoms of a heart attack when they started coming on. The megastar said, "The next morning when I started having the symptoms and I clearly knew what was going on, she put one of those aspirins inside of my tongue and that saved my life." Did you know Banderas actually suffered a heart attack before this in 2017? Yep, true story. That's why he understood the symptoms the following day after his girlfriend's headache. When he had the heart attack prior, he was exercising near his home in Surrey. He wasn't so lucky to have an aspirin back then, though. So really, his prior heart attack gave him the knowledge on how to deal with his latest one. He was just really lucky so many chance occurrences and previous experiences all came together at once. Life just seems to have an element of chance it throws at us sometimes. Speaking of dramatic curveballs, Banderas said the heart attack itself saved his life. He even went so far as to say it was the best thing to ever happen to him.
He said because the heart is not only just an organ that sends oxygen all around your body. Your heart is actually a warehouse for feelings. You know, I know that a heart attack is a horrible thing, especially if you don't survive it, obviously. Yes. But it could be a good thing. It could be a good thing. And actually, it's one of the best things that ever happened in my life because it taught me so much about myself.
Now that's pretty deep. We all worry about and sweat the small stuff from time to time, but Antonio said this experience led him to shed those things away completely. I realized that it probably was one of the best things that ever happened in my life because the things that were not important and I was worried every day about them, meaningless. Banderas continues, saying he stopped caring about things that were no longer important and started focusing on his daughter and his career. One thing is for sure. He's led an interesting life, and he deserves to live it out to the fullest. Speaking of living life to the fullest, Antonio has quite the resume. First, you have to tick off the name box. His full name is Jose Antonio Dominguez Banderas. Quite the mouthful, and that's why he shortened it for Hollywood. He also had to do something else for Hollywood, and that's learn a better American accent. The reason being, Banderas is a native Spanish speaker, and his accent was very strong and thick. Not to mention his grammar was pretty horrendous.
Solo busco trabajo.
His hard work paid off, though, and now he has that perfect, subtle accent we all love.
You are pathetic.
Some people happen to love a little bit more than that. Antonio was put on People magazine's 50 Most Beautiful People in the World list in 1996, and before that, he was ranked the 24th sexiest stars in film history in 1995. Banderas was a highly sought-after man, and in most aspects, still is. And he doesn't just look good, he smells good too. Banderas has a cologne brand, and you would never guess what it's called. Antonio Banderas. Very original and meta, I know. And believe it or not, Banderas almost never became an actor. He keeps having these unfortunate strings of occurrences that shape his life for the better. Like when he was 14 and suffered an ankle injury so bad it cut his aspirations to be a soccer player short. The world may never know if we missed out on an incredible striker or a goalie. Nonetheless, he had to hang up his cleats and we got one of our favorite actors instead. Did you know that Antonio was Zorro in The Mask of Zorro? The film also includes Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Anthony Hopkins is a fan favorite.
I don't have the time to give you the proper instruction.
The film is Three Musketeers-esque and was directed by the man, the myth, and the legend, Steven Spielberg. Banderas had to go through the ringer to even be able to make this film. The reason is, it has tons of sequences of hand-to-hand combat, horseback riding, sword fighting, you name it. So you can imagine he had to go through a huge transformation physically to be able to handle the task of being the mysterious masked man. Then we have Desperado, a Western film set in Mexico, released in 1995. Antonio plays El Mariachi in a role similar to a Mexican version of John Wick. He's a guy out for revenge against a drug kingpin for killing his daughter. It's pretty entertaining to watch and was a mainstay for viewers back in the 90s. Also, for his work in Nine the Musical, Banderas was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Actor. The role was huge for Antonio because it really showed his depth as an actor. Before this, he was simply known as that guy that played in Zorro and Desperado. So this was a testament that his stage performances weren't typecast into one specific genre. Antonio also had a role in Spy Kids and the sequels. He played the father of the kids with all the cool tech. His character in Spy Kids had a Gomez Addams vibe from the Addams Family. Super romantic, passionate, and a gentleman's gentleman. A little bit lesser known because you can't really see his iconic face, but Banderas was the voice of Puss in Boots in all the Shrek films. That's wild. I'm gonna have to go back and watch those again knowing that. Then, Antonio came full circle and starred yet again as Zorro in The Legend of Zorro in 2005, nearly 20 years after The Mask of Zorro. Not nearly as critically acclaimed as the original, but still fun to watch. The Legend of Zorro gave us a great dose of nostalgia. He continued his incredible career with Machete Kills in 2013, The Expendables 3 in 2014, Knight of Cups in 2015, The Laundromat in 2019, Doolittle in 2020, and Uncharted in 2022. But Antonio's most acclaimed role in the last decade was for 2020's Pain and Glory in 2020. For his efforts, he received a Best Actor nomination at the 2020 Academy Awards. And last, but certainly not least, Banderas is going to have a role in the upcoming franchise with a cult following. Can you guess what it is? Indiana Jones. In The Dial of Destiny, Banderas will be playing a kind of throwaway role as a friend of Indiana. Antonio said, "He just takes up very little time of the movie, but very happy to be part of a saga that's of the history of motion pictures, obviously. But hey, still nothing to scoff at. It is a legendary franchise with a very storied history." We're all still pretty excited to see Antonio Banderas back on the big screen, especially knowing he's living life to the fullest after his heart attack. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is how Antonio Banderas reveals his heart attack saved his life.